Wait, third downs by design?
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Thank y'all for pulling up here on Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all of the everydayers. We see you, and we appreciate all of that support. Today's episode is presented by our partners over at Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and 100% playable offline. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game to receive a free boost for your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. I'm Jay Smith. You can follow me on X at Unfair Sports. My guy, John Williams, you can follow him at John9Williams, taking the night off. And this is Locked On Sooners. We've got some cool stuff to talk about today. First and foremost, Brent Venables on one of his coaches' shows yesterday addressed a little bit of the concerns around why Oklahoma was not very good on third down. Now, if you all remember, there's been a lot of concerns around the fan base. Oklahoma was 1 for 12 on third down conversions. I know. Kind of wild if you really think about it, because it's not something you would have truly expected. And so most fans have been trying to look at this like, okay, are we just not very good on offense? Has the offensive line really caused this much of a problem? Why didn't we convert more third downs? Is it bad play calling? I even had people adding me on social media saying, hey, I'm concerned about the play calls as it feels like it was bad play calls. Well, when Brent Venables went on to his coach's show, he kind of not really debunked it, but he explained what was going on. And so this is what I got from Venables in that. He said that as the game was going on, we had a substantial amount of short yardage opportunities. More so, we were getting the ball at the 50 yards or closer into the opponent's zone. And because of that, the mindset was no matter what, we're going for it on fourth down. So there were situations where you would see them throw it shorter than fourth down, shorter than the first down marker, because they knew they were going to go for it anyway. So their goal was to just get closer and then go in. When I heard him say that, it made me step back and say, oh, okay, now that makes sense. And so when I went through all of the possessions there, defensively, we had 6 turnovers, right? We had 4 fumbles, 3 of them we actually had a possession with, and we had the 2 interceptions. And then the 1 fumble we had was a punt on our part that we caused a fumble, returned it for a touchdown. So that is a total of 8 different possessions. Well, I'm sorry, that was a total of 11 different possessions where there was a chance for us to get the ball. We converted on 3 fourth downs. We kicked 3 field goals. That's your 6. And then we've punted the ball 5 times. So in all intensive purposes, when we got the ball on those short sides, Venables was like, yeah, we're going to go for it. And I got it. It makes sense. And so, we talked about this last episode. Me and John kind of went in detail. The one thing that I did notice is that the game was truly scripted. And with him saying that, it tells me, oh, yeah, you had this planned out all along. Now, granted, did they say, oh, we're going to put ourselves in third and fourth downs and see what happens? Probably not. But the plan and the mindset appeared to be, if we hit third down, especially on that side of the ball, we're going to go for it. If we hit fourth down, it's probably most likely we're going to go ahead and go for said fourth down. So on the thirds, my apologies, you're going to get as close to the first down as possible if you don't get the first down. And then when fourth down comes up, you're going to go for it on 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and 1, right? So we kept going for it, and we converted on 3 of those. The only time we converted on that third down was the Tatum run. That was pretty big, and we got that third down. But on those other 11 ones that we did, there was an actual plan set up, right? We punted the ball, 5 times. We needed to get some practice for. Elzinga had to make sure that leg was right. He punted on 4. Jackson Arnold went ahead and punted 1 to pin them into their side of the field. And so I know that there's true concerns with the team in why the success there wasn't very high, but that's what you got to look at it as. That's why I try to take the mind frame of listening to what the coaches say and try to adjust it based upon the information that's provided. The one thing that we do know is that we have no clue what the call plays are, right? We don't know what the strategy is. We don't know what the game plan is. And so as an outsider looking in, it's one of those where you have to truly think about how would this coach want to handle it. And so I tell you all, please, it's okay. You can totally be frustrated because I was. You could be a little perturbed, a little bothered. That's cool. But the thing to understand is they had a plan going into that game knowing that they were going against the 130th ranked team in the country at the time. Actually, they were like 132nd coming into the season. And so you noticed defensively, we had Brock in shambles. That kid was trying to figure out, Forrest Brock was trying to figure out how to get rid of the ball every time he had it. That's how you want, that's the intimidation you want on that side, right? But then on offense, for them, they made the secondary back up as much as possible because their biggest fear was, we don't want to get dusted constantly. First drive, Jalil Farouk kicks it 47 yards. You're like, oh, we can burn them if we really want to. And that was one of those beautiful dot passes by Jackson Arnold, just hitting him just right there in the hands. Perfect scoop. Should have had the touchdown with Hester. We'll talk about that another time. But the key thing is that they knew what their plan was. They had so many scripted plays, and they didn't even go through all of them based upon what Brent Venables is saying. They only did so much because they didn't have to. Now, I know I would have loved for them to win 80-3 or 80-0 and something like that, but you got to look at it in the aspect of why risk more players' health if you don't have to by creating more possessions, right? It looked like we were trying to minimize the amount of possessions in this game. And to be honest, I feel like that was probably the smartest thing we did as a team. It made sense to not go in there and try to have a whole bunch of possessions because you're scoring too fast. Yes, the defense, it would have been great for them to get out there and just continue to dominate. But one thing that all Sooner fans have been asking for and clamoring for ever since we brought Brent Venables back is what? Time management. Right? Especially when Jeff Lebby left, the one big thing I heard a lot of you talk about was we need to do a better job of controlling the clock. Well, we kind of did that in this game, right? We focused on time of possession, short passes, just going through. Because when you start playing against these SEC teams, you get into this tough SEC schedule, you're going to have to basically control the ball, right? The longer you control the ball, the better you are. Now, you may have some games where you need to get into shootouts, but if this defense continues to play the way they are, game management is going to be the most critical thing possible. So I understand the thought process that there was possibly bad play calling on it, but if this was all by design based upon what Venables is saying, I sense that the whole goal was let's just manage the game and see what it looks like if we put ourselves in situations where we need to get short yardage consistently instead of having to always go for the bomb. Now, don't get it twisted. Once we start playing some of these better teams and we find holes in their defenses and we're going to find ways to go deep and burn people. If you notice, you didn't really see much burners out of Deion Burks, but you did see that in the spring game, right? I sense that we'll see more of that later. We'll talk about the injuries that, there was some updates on that, but the players that we really wanted to get out there and truly burn, they're out there on the roster, right? So now, if anything, we need to see what the offensive line is going to look like, what type of changes we need to do in order to get better there. And I promise you all, if there's anything that I know when it comes to a Brent Venables type defense, that their goal is to make sure that they are taking care of the ball as best as possible, because you want the defense to play, but you don't want to put yourself out there to where you're playing too many possessions. The less possessions your defense is playing and the more the ball is in the hands of your offense, we all know that's the best thing possible for any team, especially in the SEC. Time of possession is critical, and not really just how many minutes you possess the ball, but controlling the game to where the other team isn't able to do as much as they want. So When Venables talked about the third downs, and he made mention that because we had such short yards, we were going 50 yards or less, that we knew that we were going to go for it on fourth down. So there's no reason to try to push it too hard on third and force a third and long when you can go fourth and short. Because no matter what, they planned on going for it. There are some interesting nuggets that came out of this last game that I think y'all should hear about, especially around the defense. Let's talk about it next up here on Locked On Sooners. Hey, Locked On Sooner fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you all are going to love as much as I do, Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college program to glory. Can you imagine actually being a head coach of Oklahoma? Maybe you want to take over North Texas just for the fun of it and the challenge. It's there, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You control every critical detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what I really love about this game. You are responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and it's 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, when you want. So, of course, we got a special offer here on Locked On Sooners fans. You can use the promo code Locked On CFB, and it's all caps, inside the game store and receive a boost to your program. A free boost. Can't beat that. So make sure you take advantage of this perk, as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. College football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before your team plays, or if they've already played, you can keep yourself going. Check it out. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, all of them are available. You can get it all from our Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to Locked On College Football Podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoffs? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know, all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On College Football Podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, one of the big ones, there were some big nuggets, or some nice nuggets in my personal opinion, that came down when I did some digging from this last game that I think you all will appreciate. I want to talk about, of course, we all know about the big numbers, but I want to add them all together and contextualize just how excited I am about this defense. First and foremost, you had what I would like to call the Brent Venables stat. Yes, I call this the BV stat because it's a stat that to me leads directly to Brent Venables, which is the tackles for loss. If you've ever listened to me talk about Venables and what he does, that's one stat I've always looked at. He's always had a team that's ranked in the top 10 around tackles for loss. And in this game, we've got 9 of those, right? That puts us in a very nice ranking in college football, because keeping it a buck, the better you are in tackles for loss, that means you've got longer third downs, longer second downs, which of course leads to passes. And if your defense is in a position to be really good there, guess what happens then? You get turnover on downs, you get forced punts, you get turnovers because you make teams get more antsy than what they want to be, and it throws off a lot of rhythm. That got your boy excited. So then, of course, you got the 6 turnovers in there, right? 4 fumbles, 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions was kind of a throwaway late in the game, but shout out to Hardy. He got his interception. Not only is his first interception in college, when he was in high school, his first ever high school game, he also got an interception. So now he's keeping that streak alive. Love to hear that. And then getting 6 sacks. Last season, we struggled in getting sacks, mainly because a lot of teams went into max protect against us very, very early. Plus, with our linebacker room, there was still a lot of adjusting and learning how the system works, because we all know in a Brent Venables defense, the most critical thing you have is the linebackers have to make sure they're in the right spots, and they got to make sure the defensive linemen are in their right spots. So that front 7 is critical in doing what is successful in a Brent Venables defense. Well, it appears that we have a 3 deep in that of people that can handle calling those plays, or calling the defense, from Danny Stutsman, who you know is the one that's mic'd up, but then you got Kip Lewis, who understands the defense well, and he can adjust people. We got to watch Kobe McKinzie go out there as well, and he was adjusting guys and telling guys where to move here and go there. When you've got defenders like that that can adjust on the fly, That's huge. So 9 tackles for loss, 6 turnovers, 6 sacks. Yeah, that to me is an amazing trifecta in the Brent Venables era of what we're trying to do. One other cool one that came down the line, and it just happened early yesterday. We got the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, Tyler Keltner. I know, right? Who had it on their bingo card that the kicker was going to get SEC Special Teams Player of the Week? I didn't even think about that. And we joked about it yesterday's episode that for the most part, y'all shouldn't even know who the kicker is. Like at all. Like that's one dude that y'all should not know that even exists. And you feel bad for him because if he has a bad game, then everybody knows who he is and he's the one that everybody goes after. Well, the good thing for Mr. Keltner is that now y'all know who he is, but y'all don't know about him in a bad way. Y'all are actually pretty happy to, know about who he is and what he's trying to do. And so that was a very interesting stat to go in there. And one other one that really jumped out to me that I felt like really emphasizes the direction that we're going with this defense. We gave up 197 yards in this game. This is the first time that we gave up less than 200 yards to an FBS school, as in a P4, G5, well G6 now, but someone in the bowl series, football bowl series, subdivision, FBS. First time since 2017. In 2017, UTEP, we had held them under 200 yards, and then we held Kansas to under 200 yards in that season. Since then, we haven't done it outside of like the Western Carolinas of the world and schools that are in the FCS. We haven't done this to an FBS school at all, even in our cupcake games, right? As you would consider, Temple was considered a cupcake. We didn't do that in any of those cupcake games. We allowed less than 200 yards in the game. That is something to be proud of what this defense is able to do because, again, 2017 was the last time we were capable of doing that. That was the last, I guess you could say, really group of players from the Bob Stoops era that played. We weren't shutting teams down like this. We weren't preventing teams from being able to get yards. 200 yards is huge when you're playing against FBS schools. Yeah, if it was the FCS, yes, the expectation is that. We got close against Arkansas State last year. We allowed 208 yards, which was very low. That was the lowest since 2017, but this game was the first time under 200 yards, and Brent Venables pointed that out, and that was the one thing he got really excited about with the defense was them being able to hold a team sub 200. It's really, really hard to hold a team under 200 yards because no matter what, they're going to find a way to get yards. They're an FBS school, right? They're getting 3-star players and decent talent on their teams, the occasional 4-star and the occasional 5-star. We've seen that at FBS schools, a group of fives getting those players. But Oklahoma was able to take that, and even though Temple, like I said, is FBS, we held them under. That is a huge accomplishment, and that's something that we should all be excited about because that means that the defense is going in the right direction, right? Now we've got Houston coming up next week. They struggled mightily against UNLV. And so there's a chance that if we handle things the way we should, if we control the game with game management on the offensive side and let the defense go out there and get them off the field quickly, we could possibly do that again. I'm not saying we are, but I'm saying that if we can hold Houston under 250 yards in this game, that's a massive accomplishment for this defense because truth be told, I saw in the comments section, some of y'all made some comments of, yeah, we should be happy we won 51-3 because if it was in the old regime, it would have been 51-47. I don't believe it would have been that high, but at the same time, you're not wrong. You're not wrong to think that, right? You're not wrong to believe that schematically we would have gave up a lot more yards than we probably should have or even thought about allowing it. But again, Arkansas State, we only gave up 208. And that one was because that game was going so fast. We just gave them a whole bunch of possessions. In this one, we were able to control more of those possessions. And when the young players got in, that's when you kind of saw a couple broken coverages. And that's the good thing about playing your young players, right? They get the experience to recognize the experience on tape against a team that's not their own, that doesn't know what they're going to do. And they're able to get that on tape and look at it and be like, hey, so when this play happens, instead of you going this direction, you were supposed to go here. Now they have the opportunity to understand that. A lot of you had said, and even Brent Venables said, he wished he had played more young players before. Now, a lot of you have said this before. I've seen you in the comments section. I've seen you say, well, we should have played more young players in this one. We played 84, which is another great, interesting takeaway from the game. Venables let those guys play. He let them make their mistakes. But the good thing is they were able to make up for it. And those making up for it was us only giving up 3 points, right? Playing more young players gives them the experience needed so that if later on we need them to play, we're not stressed out about some dude going in there. We're not stressed out about Lewis Carter going in there and saying, oh, this is his first time playing. Is he ready? No, he was able to make a mistake here and there, and he was able to clean it up quickly, right? Same thing with Kobe McKinzie last year, Kip Lewis last year. You saw some of the mistakes that were made when Danny Stutsman wasn't out there. Now that stuff is cleaned up. It's getting cleaned up at least, right? So we don't know about perfection. We're never perfect, but never best. We're always getting better and better. Better, never best. Our goal is to always improve week after week. So, Sooner fans, you should be excited about that because that's probably the one thing that got your boy really excited because we need to have a defense. I expect that out of Brent Venables. I know you all do too. So, we're going to ride with that. Now, Brent Venables talked about injury updates. Y'all know we got to jump into that next up here on Locked On Sooners. So you know me, after my day's up, I got to start getting all my prep together so I can record this video, record all the content. And man, sometimes I'm exhausted. But hey, shout out to 5 Hour Energy, one of our sponsors. That's one way that I can get myself up and going. I grabbed this little bottle. The best part is it's got 0 sugar. It's very little portable size, and it's a perfect pick-me-up for me to get stuff done, especially recording, hitting the gym, you name it. I get stuff done around the house. This bad boy helps me out a lot. The 5 Hour Energy website has all kinds of flavors galore from watermelon, tropical bursts, grape. This is berry. I really love berry and more flavors for everyone. You can try them all. And even better on the site, you can have an option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors and it's delivered right to your door. So if you want to go check them out, go to 5 Hour Energy, and that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy products today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Now, Brent Venables had some updates for all of us, and I was pretty excited to hear this. So, scrolling through social media on Brent Venables' coach's show, he talked about some of the players. One, in practice today, he said that Branson Hickman looked really good, and there is a chance he can play this coming weekend. Now, so if that's the case, he looked good in practice and he's moving around. It doesn't sound like his injury was just severe. So in that case, we're going to say hopefully it's a grade 1 ankle sprain and he could potentially go. They may play him, they may not, but that's fine. Jake Taylor, the other right tackle, he did not play last game, and it sounds like he should be good to go this week. Venables put that out there. Shout out to Parker Thune and George Stoya. Parker Thune over at OU Insider, as well as George Stoya over at Sooner Scoop. They both tweeted it out that the expectation is Jake Taylor will play this coming week, and Nick Anderson will be prepared to play as well. And so let's talk about that wide receiver room because, of course, Brent Venables mentioned that Jalil Farouk broke his foot against Temple, the same foot that was bothering him throughout fall camp. So now that it's broken, he will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And so with it being a foot, things could be a little finicky. There's a chance he could come back this season, which means if it is the full 8 weeks, he's out until November, playing against Missouri area. Do we want to play him? We may leverage him against Maine, but for the most part, Jalil Farouk is done for the year, and I'm okay with that. Let that man heal. He could possibly redshirt, come back next season, give you one more veteran in wide receiver room. And that's the one thing I can say. Shout out to Emmett Jones. He's been doing a really good job in the recruiting side and wide receiver. He already has 5 receivers committed for this next class, which means we've got a stable of wide receivers to come in and help with all of the, health that we have in wide receiver room, right? Nick Anderson, it sounds like he's ready to go. So he can play either this week or he can play Tulane. I'm sensing that he'll probably get some snaps here against Houston. That way, just, get him into some game shape. But we'll be leaning heavily in on Brendan Thompson as well as J.J. Hester. I know some of the people that likes to, pick at me. I'm still a believer of J.J. Hester, 918 guy. But what we need to get out of him is just to make sure he catch those passes that's thrown. He dropped 2 that were right there, perfectly thrown to him. And I think for him, it was more rust, right? He hasn't played in like 2 years, like fully. Like he played a couple years ago when he first got here and got hurt and hasn't seen the field since, right? So if he's gone 18, 19 months without really playing in a game, you get a little nervous or whatnot. And I'm hoping that that's all it was. Hopefully he went through the same drills that Jaden Gibson went to as far as catches goes to get his hands stronger and make sure he doesn't drop too much. But I'm here to say I do believe that we will be just fine there. So if you get Nick Anderson back to play a little bit, Andrew Anthony looked good. I'm sensing he's going to be playing, again, he'll probably play a much bigger role in this game, right? You kind of want to ramp him up slowly. There's no reason for you to bring him in too early just because let's keep it real. If you have him out there too early and, something gets aggravated, then you kind of got a problem. Even as deep of a room as you have at wide receiver, you still want to go out there and make sure you have the most healthy guys. But at the same time, I'm here for getting a little bit more Andrew Anthony, getting some Nick Anderson out there, let J.J. Hester work his way through it, get Brendan Thompson going. And the good thing is it's obvious that Jackson Arnold has good rapport with Bauer Sharp as well as with Deion Burks. Guys, we have a tight end room that looks good. Jake Roberts was looking solid out there, especially blocking. Now they got to just throw him some passes. And you still got the young guys with Cade McIntyre as well as Caden Helms who look like they're both healthy. We've got some very positive news there. And so I think that the offensive line wise, let's wrap up with that. So you bring back Jake Taylor, you toss him at the right tackle. Hopefully you go at Fabichi Webu. Now's got him a right tackle with him that he can work with or whatnot. You keep Spencer Brown as depth and he comes in as a sub, gets his confidence back up to where he's playing better, right? But you don't need to use him every down. But Jake Taylor leads the way. Fabichi Webu's right there with them. Center-wise, I'm hoping you put out there, Gary Hatchett basically took responsibility and said that it starts with him, needs to get better. I appreciate that. You can have Hatchett run, or you can roll with Joshua Bates. Move Hatchett back to guard, or bring in Heath Luzeta, who I feel like think he's ready, right? Bring him in, and then of course at left tackle, Michael as Jacob Sexton with Michael Tarkin being right behind him. Or you can shift Tarkin over possibly to the right. I think he's played right in his career. You got a couple of options there as far as backups. But the good thing is you've got multiple backups. You got multiple pieces that can play. I like Sexton at left tackle. I think he's always played really good there when he was healthy. That Florida State game, I was hoping that we was going to be able to see him show out as a young guy, but he unfortunately got hurt. But I think he's probably ready to go ahead and make that happen. But I want to see some of the young guys there too. But the expectation is when we break down the Houston game and all the numbers and everything y'all need to know about them, I'm going to be honest, they're not very good, right? I think when I looked at the efficiencies on ESPN after week 1 against UNLV, they're like 130th in efficiency overall as a team. And I know their quarterback, Donovan Smith, is dealing with some arm stuff. There's a chance that we should be able to go out there and really, really cook in that game. So we'll see what that looks like. If anything, though, we know Bill Beatonbow is going to figure it out, and Bill Beatonbow we trust. We know that he's going to find a way to get this offensive line going the way that we need to go. And I'm just going to ride on that. I'm going to ride on faith, not on sight, because if you want me to be honest, if I was to go on anything else, I'd probably lose my mind. But I know you all are worried about that. There's concerns in your hearts. There's concerns in your voices and in all your typing. I feel it. But the good thing is that Hickman looks like he should be good to go. They most likely will not play him. I can sense that we'll push him over into the Tulane game, give him an extra week to get healthy because I don't think we really need him. And then you can start playing the young guys, get out there with some Eugene Brooks, get some BJ Brooks in there, get a little bit of Josh Isosa, give me some EPL, right? Get them going while you wait for the other guys to get healthy, because I know that we need as many healthy bodies out there at offensive line as possible. And if these guys go out there and play well, I think it would be good. But I do want to see, like you all, I want to see EPL play more left guard, because that kid is going to be a problem for opposing teams. So let us know what y'all think in the comments. And so thank you all for joining us here on Locked On Sooners and making us your first listen every day. Now go check out Locked On College Football Podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link on Locked On College Football in the description below, so you don't need to search. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank y'all for pulling out. For my guy, John Williams, you can follow him at John9Williams, myself, Jay Smith. We appreciate you and all the everydayers. Stick around for the next video and check us out tomorrow. We've got some stuff we're going to dive into preparation for Houston. We may start talking about any type of other nuggets that came down from Venables and more press conferences. So we'll keep you all up to date on your Sooners. So for John, I'm Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up and we'll talk soon. Boomer Sooner.